What's up, guys? It's your boy Sturgeon. I use he, him pronouns, and I am from the Madison Country Day School Social Awareness and Activism Club, and today we are going to talk about identities in the LGBTQIA2S plus community. Real crazy speedy quick note, you do not have to be in the LGBTQIA2S plus community, and you do not have to not be in the LGBTQIA2S plus community. This presentation is all about teaching basic terminology because school is about learning, not about forcing you to become a certain way. LGBTQIA2S plus. Gosh dang, that is a big acronym. Now we're gonna go over what that massive mouthful means in a moment, but first let's go over some basic concepts. Check out this funky looking friend right here. This is called a genderbread person, and we can use this diagram to explain some of the big ideas here. First off, the pink, yellow, and blue brain represents this person's gender identity. This means whether they think of themselves as a man, woman, or something else entirely. Wait, you can be something other than a guy or a girl? Absolutely! But you're jumping ahead. We'll get back to that in a hot second there. Your gender identity is all in your head. It's totally up to you, and it does not have to be related to the other concepts on here. If you feel like you're a guy, and that's the gender identity that best suits you, then perfect, that's great. If you feel like you'd rather be a girl, because that's what your brain tells you, then perfect. If you're listening to yourself, you're listening to the most reliable source out there. Next, down here in this region, there's a section called sex. This refers to a person's biological sex, meaning the body parts they have that determine whether they're male, female, or something else. Hold up, there's also a something else in sex? Bro, yes, and we'll touch on that in a bit too. No worries. This means that when you were born and if your doctor looked down and saw that you had a penis, you were probably assigned the sex male. Or if the doctor saw that you had a vagina, you were probably assigned the sex female. Notice how in this section, hey, puns, let's go, I use the words male and female when we're talking about sex, and we use the terms man and woman, or guy and girl, or dude and lady when we're talking about gender. This is because sex is about science, biology, anatomy, and physical characteristics, while gender is about feelings and what's in your brain. A lot of the times they can overlap, like loads of people were assigned the sex female when they were born, and they still identify with that and consider themselves women, ladies, and epic girl bosses, which is awesome. But it doesn't have to align. Like there are other people, like myself, who were assigned one sex at birth, in my case female, then later realized that this didn't match their gender identity, so these people changed their identity. We'll bounce back to that in a bit too. Next up is sexual orientation. Y'all are all about at that magical age where this is just starting to become important. It's all about who you have crushes on and who you like. Oh my gosh, this is getting crazy all of a sudden. Your sexual orientation is a way of describing the kinds of people who you like or find attractive. Maybe you're someone who is just into guys. Maybe you're just into girls. Maybe you like girls and guys, or maybe you just don't like anyone. There are identities for all of those descriptions. And we'll get into that later. And we'll get into them later. Finally, we've got expression. This is how you show the rest of the world who you are. You probably don't want to walk around with a giant sign that says, man who was assigned the sex female when he was born but now identifies as a man who's attracted to men. So, in reality, expression probably looks like the kind of clothes you like to wear, the name and pronouns you go by, the way you style your hair, or if you wear makeup or not. All of these other concepts here are about the things inside you, but expression is about how you decide to put these on the outside and communicate these aspects to the rest of the world. Awesome! Quick recap. Gender identity is whether you feel like a man, woman, or something else, and it's totally up to you and all in your head. Sex is the anatomy and physical characteristics like a penis or vagina that determine if you're male, female, or something else. Sexual orientation is a way of describing the kinds of people you usually find attractive, and expression is about presenting yourself and other aspects of your identity to the rest of the world. Finally, we're able to move on to the stuff that I said I was going to talk about at the very start. LGBTQIA2S+. Let's unpack that. This acronym is the name of a large community around the world and here at MCDS who share certain aspects of their identities. But why does it have to be so weird and long? Good question! Every letter in that acronym, LGBTQIA2S+, stands for a group of people who have struggled and in many ways remain to some degree oppressed by society. It's important that we acknowledge each of these groups and that we don't exclude anyone just because it's hard to say. Imagine if your friends didn't invite you to their birthday party just because you lived a couple minutes farther away than everyone else. Kinda weird, right? You don't have to memorize the whole acronym, but you should definitely try because it's all about making our friends and community members feel included and respected. Also, you want to seem like you're smart and you know what you're talking about. If you're going to KFC, you don't just say, "I'm going to K." Oh, so you're going on a road trip to Kentucky then? Or if you want to say that you drive a BMW, you're not going to say, "I drive a B." Huh? Yeah, learn your letters, kid. Now let's figure out what the heck all those letters mean. Lesbian. The L in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for lesbian, which means non-men who are attracted to other non-men. This means it's a kind of identity that fits in the category of sexual orientation because it's about liking or being attracted to someone. Also, lesbian refers to anyone who isn't a man. This includes people who identify as women or people who don't identify as being either men or women. As long as you're not a dude and you don't like dudes, then you qualify as someone who can identify as a lesbian. Gay! The G in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for gay, which is an umbrella term for someone who's attracted to the same gender as them. Umbrella term? What's that? An umbrella term means a name for a large category with many smaller categories in it. Like how this big umbrella can also cover this little umbrella and me. If you say that you're in middle school, that's an umbrella term because there's a lot of other grades that can be within that category. You can be in 5th grade and still be in middle school, or you can even be in 8th grade and still be in middle school, because this is an umbrella term that encapsulates all of these other smaller identities or categories. Gay just means anyone who is attracted to the same gender that they are. This means that men who like men can be gay, or women who like women can be gay too. Therefore, someone who identifies as lesbian can also identify as gay because lesbian fits under the umbrella term of gay. I am a great example of someone who identifies as gay because I'm a man who is attracted to other men. Also, I'm just really cool, so. Someone who's only attracted to a different gender from them is called straight, like a guy who only likes girls or a girl who only likes guys. Straight is another sexual orientation. Straight is not considered an identity in the LGBTQIA2S+ community, but that does not mean that straight people cannot be super crazy cool, which they can be. Next up is bisexual. The B in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for bisexual. Bisexual means someone who is attracted to people of more than one gender. This is another category of sexual orientation. It's a pretty simple one. Bisexual people can like girls and guys, and they can also like people who don't identify as girls or guys. Dude, there's just so much love going around here. It's awesome. Transgender. The T in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for transgender. Transgender means someone whose gender doesn't match the gender they were assigned when they were born. For example, vaginas are associated with being female, so if someone was born and the doctor saw that they had a vagina, then they probably said that they were female and they called them a girl. But later, when that person grew up and realized that they didn't feel like a girl and that their gender didn't match their sex, they decided to change their gender identity to become a man so that they felt more comfortable. Now this man would identify as a transgender man because he used to be called a girl, but then he found out that he was a man and changed his gender. This is his decision because it's related to his gender, which is a feeling that is inside his head and nobody else can decide it for him. Fun fact, I am someone who identifies as a transgender man because I was assigned the sex female when I was born, but now I identify as a man, and this beautiful pink, white, and blue flag right here is called the transgender pride flag. Cisgender refers to anyone who isn't transgender, so that's just someone who still identifies as the gender that they were assigned when they were born, like a girl who is assigned female or a guy who is assigned male. Cisgender is another type of gender identity, and cisgender is not an identity that is considered part of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, but that is okay because cisgender people are still very awesome. Good for them. But wait, there's more! Transgender is also an umbrella term because it is used to describe people who don't consider themselves to be a man or a woman. These people are called non-binary. Binary means two, just like bi is in the word bicycle, which is two wheels, or bisexual, which means attraction to two or more genders. Whoa, is that a callback? Bro, this whole video is filled with callbacks. Because I did my research. Binary is used to refer to two of something, like the idea that there are only two genders, men and women. Bro, that's old school. That's like way last year. Crazy out of style. You wanna seem like you have gray hair and were born before the Civil War? You wanna seem like you don't know what the internet is, and you think the government is spying on you through my Timex Expedition digital watch just because it lights up in the dark? Grandpa. Wait, you don't want to seem weird and old? You want to seem popular, normal, and cool? Then say there are more than two genders! Gender is a spectrum when you can be a man or a woman, or you can be anything else in between, or something else entirely that's unrelated. Or maybe you don't even have a gender. That's a real thing, and it's super cool. And these people would consider themselves non-binary, which is under the umbrella term transgender. Now, just like how many men like to use he/him pronouns, and many women like to use she/her pronouns, many non-binary people like to use they/them pronouns or other pronouns. You use these pronouns like, I met a friend named Alex today. They are cool and they invited me over to their house to play Fortnite. Always ask someone's pronouns when you meet them so that you get it right whether you think they're transgender or not. It never hurts to ask. Now, there's a common misconception that all transgender people use they/them pronouns, and that is not true. Some people do, but I, for example, am transgender and I use he/him pronouns. That is because while I am transgender, I am not under the term non-binary. Non-binary is an umbrella term for all sorts of identities, and transgender is an umbrella term for all those non-binary titles and its little mini identities, as well as people like me who change genders but still identify as a man or a woman within that old school gender binary. Buddy, there's a term for everybody. Queer and questioning. The Q in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for two words, queer and questioning. Queer is an umbrella term for anyone who considers themselves part of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. Anyone who is lesbian can identify as queer. Anyone who is bisexual can identify as queer. Anyone who is transgender or non-binary can identify as queer. It's an umbrella term for the whole squad. Questioning, the other Q word, can refer to anyone who is questioning an aspect of their sexual orientation or gender identity and who thinks they might be a part of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. Maybe they think they might be a lesbian, but they're not totally sure that they don't like guys. Maybe they're debating whether they're non-binary or not. Nobody who identifies as questioning ever has to decide upon another label. This is not homework. There is no deadline. You can decide your identity whenever is the right time for you. You can change it as much as you want, or you can never decide anything. Bro, it's all good. Intersex. The I in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for intersex. Intersex is an aspect of someone's sex identity, and it refers to someone who doesn't have strictly male or female body parts or anatomy when they were born. For example, that means that someone who has a vagina can sometimes naturally grow a beard, or maybe someone who has a penis is never able to grow facial hair. This is a totally real thing that a lot of people have, and it's pretty cool. Asexual and aromantic. The A in LGBTQIA2S+ also stands for two words. It stands for asexual and aromantic. Asexual refers to someone who doesn't feel much or any sexual attraction towards other people. This means they don't really want to kiss or be physical with other people, regardless of their gender or how cool or attractive they are. They just don't, and that's totally cool. Aromantic refers to someone who doesn't feel much or any romantic attraction towards other people. This means they don't really want to go on dates or have a boyfriend or girlfriend or romantic partner, regardless of their gender or how cool or attractive they are. They just don't, and that's totally cool. Two-spirit. The 2S in LGBTQIA2S+ stands for two-spirit. Two-spirit is another umbrella term for someone who is a member of the indigenous community, that means they could be Native American, for example, and who is a masculine or man-like and feminine or woman-like aspects of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or spiritual identity. This means they might also consider themselves to be gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, or any other identity or combination of identities. But two-spirit is a very special identity. Listen up. If you are not a member of the indigenous community, you cannot claim to be a two-spirit person. That's because it's part of their culture, not ours, and we need to respect that because they are, say it with me, very cool. Plus. The plus in LGBTQIA2S+ means math and physics, so anyone who is into STEM is no, not at all pranked. Whoa, got you, yo! The plus in LGBTQIA2S+ just refers to other identities who are not otherwise explicitly mentioned in the other terms. Think of it like a little extra overhang on the massive umbrella to make sure that the whole squad is sheltered together and represented in this massive mouthful of an abbreviation. Speed round recap. LGBTQIA2S+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, aromantic, two-spirit, plus. Kinds of sexual orientation within this community include gay, bisexual, aromantic, lesbian, and asexual, and more. Some gender identities that are part of this community include non-binary, transgender, and more. And intersex is an aspect of someone's sex identity that also qualifies them as a member of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. And queer, questioning, and two-spirit are all very big umbrella terms that can sort of fit and go around with all of these different categories here. Also remember that everyone has these aspects of your identity. If you're only attracted to a gender different from yours, then you are called straight. And if you still identify as the gender that you were assigned when you were born, then you are cisgender. Now, these identities are also totally cool, and we should totally respect them too. They are just not members of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. But that does not mean that they are not super cool. You can also have multiple of these identities. That's how umbrella terms work. They intersect a lot. There's a lot of ways that you can describe your identity. For example, you can say that you're someone who's in middle school, specifically 5th grade, and you're in band. Or you can also say that you're in high school and in 11th grade, but you can still be in band, just like me. So you can see how there's a lot of overlap within these umbrella terms and the individual identities within those. This is just like how someone can be cisgender, they can still identify as the gender they were assigned when they were born, and bisexual, they're attracted to people of more than one gender. Or someone can be transgender, they don't identify as the gender they were assigned when they were born, and non-binary, they don't identify as a man or a woman, and questioning, they're questioning an aspect of their identity, and straight, they're attracted to people who are a different gender than them. After this video, think about what terms you might use to describe your identity. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends and neighbors, that's it! Of course, there is a heck ton more information that I would love to get into, but this is just an introduction. So if you have more questions about these identities, my personal experience as a gay and transgender member of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, or anything else, Mr. Cook has sent out an anonymous Google form to all of your emails that you can ask any questions you have. Questions like, why is everyone saying pronouns? What do I do if I think I might be gay? I have a friend who says she's pansexual. What does that mean? Can transgender men grow mustaches even if they're technically female? Like, how does that work? There are no bad questions, and you will only receive top quality answers. Remember that all LGBTQIA2S+ identities are equally awesome, and everyone in that community deserves your respect. MCS supports all of these identities, and your identity is your decision. Peace out, y'all.